Jay boy. Jay.
Let's go. Hey guys, it's Jay and
Monica.
And we are hanging out today in our fabulous studio in West Covina. We have Scott Solari from Vyral Marketing obviously with us, and supposedly Dr. Brett and Dr. Leonard Farber will be joining us. Today's topics right now are nutritional supplements 101. And then we're also going to be talking about the Brett Osborn Fab Fit Over 40 workout program, the ins and outs, handling it if you have injuries or substitutions and stuff like that. And then at the end, and we may or may not talk about this because I don't have a working glucometer with me right now. If Brett happens to have one, then we can, but we're going to talk about how to use a glucometer to measure your blood sugar. Cool?
Yeah, what he said.
Yeah. Sweet. I can't
cool.
wait.
So let's I guess get going. So let's just talk a little bit about nutritional supplements 101. Do you have any questions about that relative before I just start rambling, Scott?
No, I think, going over not just like the main supplements that are paralleled with, working out and everything, but stuff that you need to have in your body that you're just not getting in your normal foods essentially as well. So I think we need to hit both sides of it.
Sure. Awesome. Perfect segue. Just real quick for everybody who's watching. And then of course I always say for the people reading on the transcript, we all recommend very, very highly Brett's book, Get Serious. It's an amazing, amazing book on anti-aging, on nutritional supplementation, on weight training, and then of course, battling the diseases of aging in the best way possible. You can go to our blog, which is fabfitover40.com/supplements. And you can actually download the section from Get Serious for free on nutritional supplementation. And you can kind of see the nutritional supplements that we take on a daily basis. But to back to Scott's question, it's people don't really need a lot of supplements, so to speak. I mean, if you're, really dialed in from a training standpoint or nutritional standpoint, and you want to take your physique to, let's say, the next level or get really, really super lean, then yeah, you could use a lot of supplements. But for the average person in society today who just wants to be, quote unquote, in shape, feel good about themselves, have better health, I think the only thing you really need to really truly focus on is to make sure that you're not deficient in vitamins and minerals. You're getting vitamin C, you're getting vitamin D, you're getting vitamin E, and then of course, as we always say, you're getting enough protein, okay, in your diet, and like most people, especially women, are protein deficient. Okay. And the reason they're protein deficient for a number of reasons, realistically, but it's mostly because they just don't eat enough protein in their diet. They don't eat enough meat. They're phobic of eating meat. They think it has too much fat in it or whatever it is. For what reasons, most women do not eat enough protein in their diet. And that's a big, big no-no, because the more protein that you can consume, the faster your metabolism of that protein and the more it increases your basic metabolic rate. Okay. And then obviously everybody knows the reasons that you need to have protein for muscle building and to maintain lean muscle. So, for example, like Monica is 130 pounds right now?
130.
She's normally 128, 130 pounds, right? So what does that mean for a woman how much protein should Monica get to on a daily basis? Well, she should get somewhere. She should strive every day to somewhere get between 125 and 150 grams of protein a day. Now, why do I come up with that number? Where does that come up with? Well, it's you want to, as a rule of thumb, you want to try to always consume somewhere in the range of like 0.8 to 1 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So if you're taking that over, say, a 7-day window of time, right, you're going to have some days where you're not going to get 128 grams of protein, and other days you're going to get 150. So over a 7-day window, striving for that number higher or less, you're going to most likely try to average out about 125 to 130 grams of protein a day, which is what you need, okay, to maintain your weight, to maintain your muscle.
Okay, so Jay, real quick, let's go over like what name some, like, let's say like eggs, for instance. If you eat a couple of eggs in the morning, I mean, how much protein are you getting out of that?
So it's a good question. An egg is anywhere from 6 to 7 grams of protein. Most of the protein is found in the actual egg white, like the albumin, which is the egg white. Most people know what egg whites are.
Yeah.
You can buy egg beaters, or you can buy egg whites now at grocery stores. in little cartons, which eliminates the yolk. The yolk is where most of the fat is, but there's also some very healthy fat in yolk. So I used to be a really big proponent of egg whites only, but it's okay if you have a couple of yolks. So if you're going to eat, it's a good question. So, if you want to if you're eating 4 to 6 times a day as a woman, and you want to have a good, healthy breakfast in the morning with enough protein, you probably want to eat between 4 and 5 eggs.
It's crazy.
Right? That's going to give you 24 to 30 grams of protein. Preferably, you probably want to have 3 egg whites and 2 yolks, right? Because the yolks is, I think, about 4.5 grams of fat per yolk. But again, there's a lot of other vital nutrients and essential vitamins inside the egg yolk that you could use and utilize for your body. It's not as bad as people think it is. A lot of people try to avoid the yolks, but it's really there's also stuff in there for brain chemistry too. So it's okay to eat yolks. But I think personally, the easiest way to get supplemental protein or to get excess protein in your diet is to have supplements. Right? We talk about this on the blog. Everyone should be using a whey protein powder. Okay. And I'm not going to get into we could talk about the top brands, but honestly, and Brett won't echo my sentiments on this. The reality is, whatever is most effective from a cost standpoint for you. Okay. That may be that you go to Costco, right? There's plenty of protein powder at Costco. You can get muscle milk. You can get, combat powder, which is made by, I can't think of Muscle Farm. Whatever you can get that's in bulk that is, somewhat substantive quantity or quality, like a muscle milk or any of those two, just get those. And then at the end of the day, you have to be able to like it. It has to taste good. Who's going to eat nasty, bland, starchy protein powder if it doesn't taste good?
Not me.
So Monica, besides that, how many shakes are you doing a day, you think?
What was that? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
How many shakes are you doing a day?
Well, we have a shake after our training session. And then, depending on whether or not we want to have an actual meal, we'll replace it with a protein shake. So usually it's about 2. We don't have too many.
Yeah, we don't overeat protein. I mean, again, you guys can go to our site. You can see our diet. It's all there. But just strive for, if you're a dude, you weigh 200 pounds a day, 200 pounds, that's your, normal body weight. You should strive for, if you have 5 meals a day, you should strive for 35 to 40 grams of protein at every meal. Okay. Well, however you get it. If that means you take 2 protein shakes when you wake up in the morning, a lot of guys today, they drink a shake. Okay. That's their morning breakfast. At least guys that are nutritionally dialed in, guys that are completely not dialed in or not eating for breakfast, right? Which is a mistake. But if you have a shake and you get 40 to 50 grams of protein in the morning, well, now you realize you got 150 to go or somewhere close to that number. And how are you going to break that out? Well, it depends on how many times you're going to eat. But just the rule of thumb is always strive for at least 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 0.8. So if it's a little bit less, one day you might get a little more, one day you want to get less. That's what you want to always shoot for. Right?
Awesome. So what other I'm getting feedback a little bit, but what other supplements should we be taking daily?
It's a good question.
Even vitamins. Go through the vitamins that you should have in your diet. I don't drink orange juice because there's so much sugar in it, right? So I'm taking vitamin C supplement.
Yeah, you can take a vitamin C supplement. A lot of these protein powders that we're talking about have a lot of that stuff already in the powders. So, but I would stress a great calcium supplement is Bone Up, which is made by Jarrow Formulas. That's an amazing supplement for calcium. It has a specific form of calcium called hydropoxite, and hydropoxite is the bone density calcium, which everybody needs as they get older, especially if they're training hard. I'm trying to think of
fish oil.
Yeah, fish oil is Brett talks about all the time. Your essential 3s and essential 6 fatty acids. Yep. Exactly.
Look at you.
Yep. You need
Good
that.
job.
Absolutely need that. Monica and I take 5.
Yeah.
Monica and I, we take 5 to 10 of those every day. 5 to 10 of those every day. What else do we take? I'm trying to think. We also take curcumin, which is also a really potent antioxidant. It has all kinds of other anti-aging qualities too.
What about that purple pill that we take?
What about CQ10 or CQ?
Yeah, coenzyme Q10. Yeah, you can take that too. That's also good for heart health. The problem with it's not a problem, but you got to make sure you get the form that is the correct kind, which is it's made by Kanaka. or something, or I forget. I don't know. All of the stuff is in the book, but there's a specific brand of coenzyme Q10 that you want to make sure you get. I'm trying to think of some other stuff that you really need. You what?
The purple one that we took?
No.
Vitamin D.
And vitamin D. Vitamin D is essential, especially for men, to make sure that their testosterone is maximized. You want to get like literally 5,000 to 10,000 IUs of vitamin D a day. Now that's pretty simple to get from supplement form. You can buy at Costco or anywhere. You can get like one capsule is 5,000 IUs. So you take 2 capsules a day, or one, just depending on. But I mean, from a supplementation standpoint, that's really about it. Again, you could take a multi-mineral and a multivitamin supplement as long as it's encapsulated. You don't want to really be taking a lot of tablets because tablets are difficult to digest in the system, in your metabolic system. But beyond that, you could take, Monica's right. You could take fiber gummies. It's not really a supplement, but that's more something to take when you're eating reduced carbohydrates and you want to remain, you want to keep your system, flowing, and that, you want to remain regular and stuff like that. But that's not really a nutritional supplement. But I mean, really, the only other thing I would say that you could add is you want to add essential fatty acids. Beyond fish oil, you can take medium chain triglyceride oil, MCT oil, or you can take like Udo's oil, which are just tablespoons of oil that you put in your protein shakes, and you can cook with it. You can definitely put it on top of salads or even add it to your food or whatever, but that's just going to give you essential fatty acids that you're not normally likely to get in your diet.
Yep.
Awesome. I mean, I don't know, that seems like it covers it. I mean, and all this stuff is listed on your site under your diet plan, or under your food supplement plan, right?
Yeah, and like I said, you can download Brett's, from Get Serious, all the different supplements. There's other stuff that we didn't mention that he takes. You can take like DHEA. There's other stuff in there, a little bit more esoteric stuff that you can take. But a lot of this stuff is mostly for aging people who may have a deficiency in one thing or the other. But I think we pretty much hit on most of the the most important stuff.
Got it.
Anything you want to add?
He's pretty smart, isn't he?
Yeah, you caught yourself a whale there.
I'm telling you. Woo!
Marlin.
Yeah. I'll take it.
So the next thing we're going to go over was, just talking about inside FabFit Over 40 and the Dr. Osborn workout program and what you need to know. So yeah, let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about some of the specifics on the main things in the program that he specifies that people need to be doing.
Are you ready to start, Scott?
Yes.
Are you ready to start the program?
Yeah, I've been on vacation for like 3 weeks. I need to start something.
It's time to get going.
Yeah, that's what he was saying when he's coming back. You're like, you're traveling. It's so hard to maintain your diet, which it is. God knows. We're about to take off on our own vacation. But there's a lot. I could go all day on talking about this. I get tons of feedback from readers on our blog, and obviously that write in that watch these things, and they ask questions. I think to start off, let me just give a basic. First off, again, to really understand the workout we're talking about, go to the website, search. It's actually our current workout. You can just go, it's right up in the top in the masthead. Just click on our current workout and you can see what it is. But Doc has a really, really interesting and unique perspective on training. I mean, it's not unique, but he's really dialed in the workout program so that people train on Monday and Friday. And it doesn't have to be Monday, Friday, but basically it's 2 days a week that you do strength training. And then you have 1 day a week, which is in the middle of the week, sandwich in between those 2 workout days, where you do what are called push, pull, and carry modalities. And what that means is you're basically training your body in ways that early man, like Cro-Magnon man, all those Australopithecus, whatever, was walking on the savannah and running from cheetahs or saber-toothed tigers or whatever. So literally, no, I'm not exaggerating.
Or carrying like a dead carcass over their shoulder, right?
Exactly. I mean, that's absolutely true. I mean, so like, and let me explain that. So on Wednesday, which we actually did this today, we go to the gym and we have myself, Monica, and a training partner, my buyer's agent, George Cordova, who's a little beast.
Bestial.
And we literally, we grab heavy dumbbells. We warm up, we stretch for 5 minutes or whatever, and then we grab heavy dumbbells. Like I use anywhere from 90 to 100-pound dumbbells. George uses like 75, and Monica uses like 45s. And we carry them 100 meters 5 times, or 130 meters like 5. It's like 600 meters total over the 5 intervals. And what we do is we carry them, we walk at a pretty good pace, up and back, and then we drop them because it's brutal. And then you superset them with pull-ups, and we switch our grips, we vary our grip, and that's it. So that's all we do. And you know, the 3 of us, it takes us what, 30 minutes? It takes usually like 25 to 35 minutes, sometimes 40. And then once we're done with that, we finish with abs. And the only abs that we do in Dr. Osborn's program are hanging leg raises. And hanging leg raises are the most advanced abdominal exercise that anyone can do. It's not for like an entry-level person cannot do. I mean, you got to work your way up. You got to do, you know, like crunches, or you got to do.
Well, you can also do you can do the machine where you have your elbows resting until you get more. Like,
exactly. I was just going to say that. It's a great point. Yes, you can do that until you progress until you're doing hanging leg raises. But then that's it. And then on Mondays and Fridays, you do the strength days. Okay, and the strength days are also very scientifically designed. But I shouldn't say you're only, and we'll get to that in a second. But if you can, if your body is, you don't have any injuries, you're not, you don't have issues, you know, that prevent you or preclude you from doing it. You want to train on Monday. You want to do deadlifts and bench press. Okay. And then you're going to do some ancillary exercises, whatever the second exercise is. So for example, if you do bench press first and deadlift second, you're going to train your back for a couple exercises after. So after you do deadlifts, you're going to do like 2 exercises where you'll do 3 sets of maybe 10 reps, short rest intervals in between the sets, and you just blast your back. And then the following Monday, you would invert that. So your deadlifts would be first and your bench press would be second, and then you would train your chest with 2 exercises. So anyway, the way that works is, and again, if I'm going too fast or I lose people, it's all on the website. Okay, current workout, click on it. It's all spelled out. It's all there. There's a little.
Guys, and for the viewers that are watching, there's a Q&A box at the top right. Just click on the Q&A, and you can ask questions while we're talking here. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, for sure. So on the Friday workout, and by the way, every Dr. Osborn workout, you finish with abs. You do hanging leg raises, and you do 3 sets, and you're supposed to do 15 to 20 reps, but we literally, even at our advanced level, can't even get 15 to 20 reps. Like we're doing like 10 to 12 reps by the 3rd set and dead, right? But on the second weight training workout, which is usually Friday for us, we try to train Monday, Wednesday, and Friday when we can. You know, sometimes we have to substitute. We get, you know, life gets in the way. We train overhead press, so it's for shoulders, and we also do squats. Now, squats are difficult exercise. Okay, we're older now, you know, 44, 43, but it doesn't matter. I just did a blog on our site, you know, with a 60. How old is he? 61 years old, right? Yeah, 61 years old, squatting 315 pounds for 3 sets of 5. I have a video. It's on our site. You can go see it. You're never too old to squat is the title of the blog. But the bottom line is this type of workout is anyone can do it regardless of their level of experience, regardless of whether they're advanced or they're total beginner. And the reason that we choose these exercises is because they are foundational strength training movements. And what I mean by that is that these are the movements that throughout, you know, the beginning of time, whenever weight training was started by man, these were like the exercises that everybody used to get bigger, stronger, faster, you know, more athletic, whatever. So that's why we do these exercises. Now, they're not hard to do, but they obviously do require some skill and some technique. And so you have to practice them. Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, Monica and I have been training with weights for 20 years, but we did not train this way up until December, right? Of last year. We started this program in December. God bless you, son. And then, so some of the movements we just would never do because they're very difficult movements, like deadlifting. Bench pressing I would never do because I have long arms. I'm a tall guy. I didn't really ever like doing bench pressing because I felt like I didn't maximize my physique because my arms are so long. I couldn't do as much weight. But I put my head down and I said, you know what, I'm going to listen to Doc and I'm going to follow exactly what he says. And so subsequently, it's had amazing results for both of us. I mean, both of our physiques have improved as we've gotten, you know, in the last 6 months. We're both much stronger.
Right.
One of the things that people will recognize if they follow this workout and they really take advantage of this type of training is that little things in their life become much easier. And what I mean by that is when you're walking around in a grocery store, when you bend over to pick up your kids, your dog, something in your house, all the like aches and pains and like the joint tightness or stiffness seems to go away because you're training your body in a way that you anatomically were designed to train. Again, remember, it goes back to the whole walking on the plains, throwing a saber-toothed tiger over your shoulder. So when you're carrying dumbbells and you're strengthening all these other ancillary muscles in your body, you're strengthening your core, you're strengthening areas in your back that you don't normally train because you're carrying these weights and you're walking with it. So all of those things lead to much more functional strength. Okay. And that kind of functional strength translates into you having less injuries, less repetitive injuries. Like when you sit at a computer desk all day, if you're training that way, it's going to prevent you from feeling stiff or sore or, you know, having those low back, you know, nags and pains. So from that standpoint, I think it's a very, very effective training strategy. And then I would also say that you're only in the gym 2.5 hours a week.
Yeah, it's more efficient.
So think about that. Like the average person, you know, and we've had this conversation before, Scott, but the average person comes up to Monica and Jay and says, "You must live in the gym. You guys must be in the gym 2 hours every day. How do you look like that?" And we're like, no, we're in the gym 2.5 hours a week tops. Okay. Do we do cardio in the morning at our house sometimes? Of course, you know. But that's like 20 to 30 minutes when we wake up in the morning before the kids get up, and it's not intense or anything like that. So, I mean, the point is that you can look good and live healthy and robust and not spend all this time in the gym. It comes down to, you know, again, eating a quality diet, getting, you know, doing the things that we just talked about with the supplementation and getting enough protein and all that stuff. And then consistently, you know, having a plan, like a workout program like Brett Osborne's, and you don't have to do the workout program that we have. You just have to go. You have to consistently train. You have to consistently lift weights. I'm telling you, women especially, you cannot avoid training with weights, okay? All these women that go to the gym and spin constantly on the bikes and on the elliptical and the treadmill and all the nonsense, and then they don't lift weights, you're not going to improve your body. Okay. If anything, you're going to get worse because remember, muscle is what burns calories at an accelerated rate. When you don't have any muscle, you don't have any efficiency in eating food because your body doesn't burn calories efficiently. So if you don't have muscle on your body, and again, I don't want women to think they're going to get muscular, they're going to get bulky. Okay. Monica has literally like optimum genetics. She does. She has optimum genetics. And she can't get muscular. She just gets lean. I mean, she's very, very lean and very, very, you know, hard, like muscular for like a woman, but she's skinny. I mean, she's not big and muscular. She's not bulky, you know, and she has like
size 0.
She has like the best, she has the best genetics of any woman possible. Okay. I mean, like you can't find better genetics in that. And she still doesn't get bulky. Okay. So like, I want women to understand that like, you're not going to gain bulky muscle or, you know, get full out your clothing like with bulky muscles from training with weights. And I see too many women that are afraid to lift, and it's stupid. You have to lift. I mean, like, especially as you get older, because if you don't lift, you don't have the bone integrity that you need. Because remember, as soon as you get to become premenopausal and postmenopausal, your body starts leaching calcium when you stop menstruating. And so if you don't have the strong bone strength from the resistance training, the weight training, then you're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to be bent over and you're going to deal with all that issues that you don't want to deal with later.
Right. And plus, honestly, you feel better energy-wise. And this is what I always hear from women. It's like, how you know, the sagginess that we have right here, you know, if women weight train, you're not going to have as much of an issue with this. Of course, diet is primary, but you know, when you train, you don't have issues with your sagginess right here.
Right. Absolutely true.
All right. So question for you guys. A lot of people out there are individuals that want to maybe do a working plan like this, but don't have someone to hold them accountable. So what do you suggest if they don't have someone to go to the gym with? What do you suggest they do with this plan? Do they take it to a trainer? I mean, what do you think the best bet is to get someone in the gym that really start doing some sort of workout like this? And
Yeah, no, it's a great
Learning.
question. For a total beginner, newbie, neophyte, whatever you want to classify them as, you have to get a trainer. Okay, this is not this type of workout program is not something you can watch a video from and stand in your living room and train that way. It's just not going to happen. Again, it's a great question because I get this all the time. People say, well, I train at home and what do I substitute? And I said, there is no substitution. Okay. If you're going to train at home, which you can easily do, you got to buy a squat rack. Okay. You got to have a squat rack so you can do squats and overhead presses and have a barbell so you can do deadlifts. Okay. There is no substitute for it. So, does that mean that if if you can't afford that stuff and then you can't go to a gym and you can't afford a squat rack, that means that you're screwed? Well, of course not. Remember, I already said there's a million different ways to train. But if you really want to get strong and you want to improve functional strength and you want to improve your core strength and you want to be healthy, doing those type of exercises are definitely better than doing light dumbbells or whatever you do in your house. But again, as long as you're doing something, it's better than not doing anything.
Right.
And if you say something, it has to be resistance. It has to be dumbbells, has to be push-ups, has to be pull-ups. Listen, anybody can go buy a pull-up bar and put it in their house on their wall, and you can buy a dip bar, okay, and you can also drill that into the walls in your house, and you can do that. You literally can do that 3 days a week, and you'd still get great results.
Right. And honestly, I just piggyback on what he's saying. Remember, it's all dependent on the individual's goals, plus their commitment level. So if somebody truly, truly wants to get in shape, and then depending on where they begin, they're going to have a plan that's going to be able to get them there. But if you're not committed, you're not going to follow through. And that's where having a trainer, having someone that's going to help guide you is going to help. However, disclaimer, not every trainer knows what they're doing. So just make sure that whatever trainer you do hire is a knowledgeable trainer, and you've seen some of the people that they work with. Because ultimately, for example, with squatting, you want to make sure that your form is correct and that you're not going to get hurt, because people can hurt themselves if they squat, if they don't know what they're doing when they're squatting.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of SOAR. I'm not going to go into SOAR. We've talked about SOAR, beating it to death. The next SOAR is going to be in October. We'll talk more about that as we come up. But I mean, if you really want to take this to the next level, you want to optimize your hormones, you want to understand, improve your mindset, you want to learn how to strength train correctly, scientifically, not getting injured so that you can go back to your, in your life and employ these principles, then SOAR is the type exactly what you need. But to go back to Scott, because I think it's a good segue, if you're injured, okay, or you're older and you have mobility issues, let's say you have something the matter with your hip and you can't squat, okay? Let's say you have a shoulder injury, you have a subduction of your humerus, or you have some sort of rotator cuff destruction, and you can't overhead press. These are the kind of questions I get from people all the time. They're like, look, the Dr. Osborn program looks awesome, but what do I substitute for this workout? I mean, for this exercise or this exercise? Well, the answer is very simple. Okay, you're going to do what your body anatomically will allow you to do. So if that means you have shoulder problem where you can't do any overhead presses, well, then you're not going to do overhead presses. You're going to grab some dumbbells and you're going to do some wide lateral raises or something like that. And you're going to strengthen the areas of your shoulder that you can strengthen, that aren't that you don't have limited range of motion from. Okay, so same thing with your legs. If you can't squat, physiologically now you have injuries, you have limitations, mobility, whatever. You can't squat, then you do leg press. Okay, you do leg extensions, you do hamstring curls, you do something that you can do that still strengthens your leg muscles or targets the muscles in your leg, your lower quadrant, that doesn't preclude you from doing it because of your injury limitation. So I think too many people, they make it too complicated and they start overthinking it, when in reality, all you have to do is something to target your legs, right, or something to target the area that's injured that allows you to train around it.
Right. Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people become their own worst enemy, because as soon as they begin something, remember, most of us will start something and we won't finish it. So again, it's going to depend on someone's commitment level, and then additionally, following through and having somebody who's going to be able to guide you.
Yep, absolutely true.
Awesome. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. So what did you, Jay, do you want to go into, I know you don't have a working glucometer. I don't have one either. Mine was at home. So
yeah, no, I don't have it. Well, we can talk about that another time. I mean, honestly, I have so many questions. We can answer questions about TRT and stuff like that, or we can talk about the book.
Okay, let's do that.
I don't know if the docs are going to call up and join us on the call. They told me they were going to, but maybe not. Who knows? But that's fine. We don't need them on the call.
Yeah.
They got to help.
So I think
Go figure.
I think it's just a couple. Just before I segue out of the workout program, I'd like to say, people can email me. It's Jay@FabFit40. You guys can reach out to us through the blog as well. Obviously that happens on a regular basis. I honestly do answer everybody's questions. I don't answer them,
He does. He
fast
answers
as some people would like them.
everyone.
I am insane and totally.
Yeah, but Jay, tell people how many questions you got just in the last few days.
I think Brett just called. There he is. What's up, Brett?
Dr. O.
Hi guys.
What's up, dude?
How are you?
What's up, Doc?
I'm missing
Everything's
Dr.
good.
O's face.
Sorry I'm late.
Oh, no worries, no worries. We figured you'd call up when you could. Are you on call right now?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Of course.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna throw a question at you then, real quick, before we start jumping into the TRT. Do you have your glucometer with you right now?
I do.
Oh man, we may jump in there. We may talk about that. But real quick, I want to talk about. We just talked about. We're kind of like inside the Jay Campbell, Dr. Brett Osborn workout program, and like talk a little bit about people that are injured or have mobility issues that limit them. Let's say they have a spinal issue or compression issue, or they have just something, whatever it is that literally prevents them from squatting. Okay, or they have an injured shoulder, their deltoid capsule is blown apart or whatever, and they can't do overhead pressing, because we get these questions all the time. Like, and my answer was, we just answered it before you were on, but my answer was like, do something that you can do, right? That doesn't limit your range of motion, whatever that may be for that individual exercise. But what would you say to somebody who says they cannot squat for whatever reason,
Right.
And they can't overhead press?
Right. So this happens fairly commonly. This question is posed to me, and what I usually do is I usually just tell the patients or the individual, whomever, to use the time wisely and allow the body part that's injured to recover, maybe get some structured physical therapy, make sure that you're doing whatever types of regenerative type of therapy under the care of a professional. And during that time, so say as an example, it's your shoulder. What I would do is I would recommend that person, provided that there is adequate shoulder mobility, concentrates their efforts on lower body during that period of time, and really makes a concerted effort to work on the exercises potentially that are sort of lagging behind. So if you injure your knee, what I've told people to do is, if it's possible, work on your upper body at that time, and your abdominal strength, the strength of your midsection, strength of your low back, and allow ample time for that other body part to heal adequately. Again, I'm not saying that you have to rest it completely, because inactivity obviously is bad. For the body part, so that there should be some form of what's called active rest. And again, I would recommend engaging yourself in some structured physical therapy if you have somebody that's well qualified to do that, just so that you know that you are appropriately rehabilitating that body part. But by no means does an injured body part, say a knee as an example, make you exempt from exercise. One doesn't preclude the other, but like I said, I would just sort of concentrate on the other half of the body, while the affected body part is healing. That's sort of my answer. I wouldn't really do anything that is without structure. I would make sure that if you're going to attempt to do anything, the answer is correct, Jay, in my opinion, what you said. But I would make sure that you're doing something that you're sort of well versed in, and not really push it too hard. And remember that typically, especially as we grow older, at least chronologically, our healing is slower than it was when we were 16 years old. So to rehabilitate things in general take a little bit more time. On a sort of as a rough measure, muscles and ligaments take more time, oftentimes, to heal than bones do. Bones in a young individual that's a non-smoker, that's well nourished, okay, typically takes 6, 10, 12 weeks to heal. Muscular ligamentous injuries, okay, while they may not seem as severe, may take longer, okay?
Right.
So be very, very careful. Don't assume that because you strained a ligament or you have a muscle tear that it's going to heal in 4 to 6 weeks, because oftentimes it doesn't, unless it's a very, very mild or partial tear. So just be careful and allow the body part ample rest, but at the same time, it should be active rest. Hope that helps.
No, yeah, no, it's really good. We kind of hit that, so we'll just jump into. Do you want to talk a little bit about glucometers, or you want to just answer questions about TRT?
All right, so the glucometers are real simple, guys. Okay, I mean, we have here a $10 or $15 glucometer from Walgreens. I don't know if you guys can see that. Okay, It's really simple machine to use. Okay, they've really simplified the process. It's basically inexcusable not to have one of these things.
Right.
So you get this little digital meter here. You get a bunch of little pin lancets.
Yep.
Okay, and you get this little gun. Okay. For those of you who don't want to sit there with these little lancets, and as originally described, just poke this thing into your finger, this little needle. Okay. This little gun, you actually load the lancet into this gun. And it's really simple. It's a spring-loaded device here. You could set the depth, okay, which I'm not sure you guys can see this. Okay?
No, we can see it. Good.
Yeah,
good.
You could set the depth there, okay, depending upon how thick your fingers are. If you have callous weightlifter hands, okay, you can make it a little bit, make that lancet go a little bit deeper. And then all it is it's a test strip. Yeah, exactly. I know. Me too. Exactly. These are surgeons' hands. Okay, all callous stuff.
Hey, I don't have women hands.
Yes. For the gloveless amongst us, okay, I never wear gloves. But anyway, that's a good sign, Monica. But anyway, there's a little strip that goes into the bottom, okay, of this, and basically all you do is you turn the machine on, you push the strip in, and then all you're going to do is you're going to prick your finger, and you put your finger up against one of the little strips. I'm going to show you what a strip looks like, and it's sort of by capillary sort of action pulls the blood, okay, into the strip. So the strip is here, okay, and on the top here, there's almost like a little siphon for blood, and on the bottom, okay, this is the thing that actually digitally encodes the strip itself and makes the glucometer, okay, aware of the fact that you're going to be doing some testing. So you sort of insert it into the bottom like that, all right, and it'll prompt you for blood, a drop of blood. You can see it's blinking right there. Okay, and then all you do is you prick your finger and you put it onto the bottom here, and it'll siphon. You see the blood actually siphoning up into the machine itself. Right. And then in about 5 seconds, on this one takes 5 seconds, which is far better than what it used to be, which was on the order of 60 seconds or 90 seconds. 5 seconds, you have your glucose. Okay, right. Now we've all talked about the utility of glucose testing. Okay, it's extremely important. Okay, and I'm not going to reiterate its importance here, okay, but that's one of the reasons why we all are on metformin and recommend its usage, because insulin resistance is basically one of the major underpinnings of age-related diseases. So fasting glucoses, okay, your fasting glucose level is typically done after an 8 to 10 hour fast. Okay, you want to see those numbers low, okay, somewhere in the mid-70s to 80s. Okay, that may seem low to people, but it actually is associated with less free radical formation, less inflammation, less oxidative stress in the body. So you really want to wake up in the morning and check it after you've slept and feel well rested, by the way, to see not so much what your long-term control of your glucose is, but what your short-term control of your glucose is. So it'll give you a snapshot of sort of where you sit. A better test is the hemoglobin A1C, which is going to give you a 90-day snapshot of your glucose level, and that's a more reliable indicator of your insulin sensitivity. But just to sort of know where you're heading so that you can make the necessary changes in your diet, your exercise, your sleep patterns, okay, you should check a fasting glucose every week, again, provided you're well rested. If you're not well rested and you feel like you wake up and you just had a busy day the day before, you train very aggressively, and you have your heart's beating fast, cortisol level in your blood is going to be high, and secondarily your blood glucose. That's probably not a good idea. You really want to check it when you feel well rested, when you haven't binge eaten at 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, 8 to 10 hours, preferably 10 hours, okay, and you should be shooting for low 80s, high 70s, okay? And again, this is something that for $10 or whatever, $15, it is absolutely inexcusable, okay,
Yes.
for every one of us, okay, not to have one of these things and a blood pressure cuff, okay? These two things go hand in hand, okay? It's very, very simple to use, okay? You need no technology experience at all. It's really inexcusable not to have one of these things. What else needs to be said about that, guys? Any questions?
No, I mean, Scott, you have questions?
No.
Scott has one. Scott's using him himself now. And obviously Scott's girlfriend / fiance is a nurse, so you know she helps him and stuff with that too. But I think the only thing I would add is, and we're not going to talk about it today, but yeah, the blood pressure cuff too is absolutely crucial. You know, you should be doing that at least once a month. I mean, depending on if you're overweight or obese or whatever, you should always know what your blood pressure is. For people that don't have a blood pressure cuff too, right, Doc? They can go to any pharmacy and they can just pay 50 cents.
Absolutely, right? and again, similar to this, okay, these two things should be bundled together, okay? Right. Because the blood pressure cuff, okay, an automated blood pressure cuff, okay, is going to cost you $20. Maybe, okay, you just look around for them, okay, they cost really, really, really insignificant amounts of money, again, relative to their weight in health and longevity potentially, okay? So fasting sugars, okay, you can even, if you're a little bit more slick, and I talk about this in the book, you can do what's called a glucose tolerance test over 3 hours. Scott, have you done one of those?
No, I've not done the test.
Probably be a good idea. Ask your girlfriend or your fiance to do one for you. You could do one, okay, with this, okay, and it involves just taking an oral solution of basically sugar, dextrose, okay, and you test your sugars at hourly intervals after you've had the solution, okay, so you just drink it, okay, and it will give you a gauge. It's going to give you a sort of a curve as to how well your body is regulating glucose via insulin secretion. And what it boils down to also, just like the hemoglobin A1C, is it has to do with your response to that oral sugar challenge is directly related or a function of your insulin sensitivity. You want your insulin sensitivity to be very, 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 very high. Okay, you don't want to be insulin resistant. Okay, so high insulin sensitivity. Okay, or very, very low degree of insulin resistance. Okay, and that we believe, okay, confers health and longevity. Other questions?
No, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's some really, really great stuff for people when they watch this, when we run the transcript and put this on and let people watch it. That's going to be really good stuff.
People just don't need to go to Starbucks for a week and you can afford one. No problem.
Right.
That's right.
Cool. So let's just jump in some questions in here real quick. We got like 15 minutes left. So I got a bunch of questions. I'm gonna throw in one real quick relative to glucometers. I think it's probably pretty simple to answer because we already did it. But you don't have a preference, right? CVS, Walmart doesn't
No, I don't. Technologies are very, very similar. Okay, you can get ones with funky types of functions on them, et cetera, et cetera. Most of them have a date and a time stamp, so you can actually track, okay, your progress or your regression. Hopefully not. As a matter of fact, I have seen that they now have, again, very, very small hemoglobin A1C, what do you call it, devices. So it gets even better, okay? And as technology improves, we start understanding these processes a little bit better in the testing and the diagnostics. It's going to get better and better. Ideally, you're going to have one of these things. It's literally going to be, it's like a tricorder type of thing, where you're going to have, it'll be some sort of home unit that's mounted to your wall, and you literally go up to it and stick your finger on it every day, and it's going to give you a snapshot of your fasting glucose and maybe your A1C, and it'll similarly check your blood pressure, et cetera, et cetera. So these things are coming down the pike, and I really don't think that one brand, okay, is any better than the other. This is Walgreens. Again, read it, Walgreens.
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah. So one other thing to add to that, then another segue, and I got a bunch of questions. So for somebody that wants to go to like Discount Labs, Nelson's Company, or Private MD Labs, or one of those things, and they want to get their A1C measured, is the test actually a CBC, or is it actually just an A1C test that they just a la carte order that test?
Right. It's and that's a good question. It's a standalone test, so you can actually go and get your hemoglobin A1C done as a standalone.
That's what I thought. So anyway, so that's a really important point, guys. I actually have a blog today on FabFit Over 40 about discount labs, and how simple it is to literally, you don't even have to go see Dr. Brett. You don't have to even go anywhere. You can literally just dial it up, order one of these labs a la carte, and pay for it, and then show up at Quest or LabCorp, and they just take your blood and they'll email it to you, and then hopefully you have a doctor like Dr. Osborn that you work with, maybe a family practitioner or whatever, and obviously if you watch our show, you don't need them, right? Because you can read this stuff yourself. But it's a really awesome lab to get pulled to know your A1C level. I mean, there's nothing more important, as we've talked about 1,000 times before, to understand your insulin sensitivity, to understand if you're pre-diabetic or if you're going to have adult onset diabetes or whatever. You have to understand that kind of stuff. That's not something to take for granted at all.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Question on metformin, Doc. I've been using metformin for probably about 8 months now, and it has completely transformed my life. It's worked wonders for me. I've lost body fat. I feel like I'm more metabolically efficient. Does the long-term use of metformin help to lower elevated liver enzymes if all else is good?
Yeah, I don't know of any data on that. I really don't. I can tell you that it's not going to cause any problems with your liver enzymes, and I would assume that the elevation in liver enzymes is not secondary to metformin. The first thing that I would do is, if you do have elevated liver enzymes, because the answer to that question is probably no. The first thing that you need to do if you have elevated liver enzymes is, number one, make sure that you don't. You should be, if they're persistently elevated, you should absolutely be tested, with a hepatitis panel. That's number one. Number two, the most common cause of elevated liver enzymes is just drugs. So make sure that you're not taking excessive amounts of Tylenol. As a matter of fact, just throw your Tylenol in the garbage.
Right, throw it in the garbage.
Yeah, it's
in the garbage.
Not a good medication at all. I would get rid of that. That's probably the biggest offender. Secondarily, I would say, in addition to medications, is drinking. Those two things. So it's true. Rarely you do find people who overindulge in various types of supplements, and there's not one particular. You do hear elevations in liver enzymes as a result of excess amounts of various supplements. Niacin, if you're taking niacin to lower your cholesterol, okay, it can cause problems with your liver. It can cause elevations in liver enzymes. So dump the niacin if you're having persistently elevated LFTs. So again, just to reiterate very quickly, medications, alcohol are most common. I would say if they're persistently elevated despite the cessation of those, I would absolutely check a hepatitis panel. And you can start, in addition, backing off, and I'm including supplements in medications or whatever. You can start backing off some of the supplements if you're taking excess amounts of them. Do some research, find out which ones historically have caused issues with liver enzymes, because the data is there. Okay, some of them do, and I would just try to sort of identify the source and go from there. But usually it's some sort of medication or alcohol.
Right. Yeah. Alcohol. Acetaminophen, I agree with that. That is absolutely worthless horse crap that should be tossed in the garbage.
Right. Especially because a lot of people give it to their kids.
Oh, God. My God.
Not a good idea.
Okay, so another one real quick. I got a bunch of questions, but I'm just skipping around here. So what are your thoughts on someone who's going through a very stressful period in their life and the effects of exercise during this period? Are you a proponent of keeping and maintaining your routine at a high intensity level, or do you suggest backing off to get extra rest and minimize stress on the body?
Yeah, and that's I would err on the side of doing the latter as opposed to the former. So any type of physiologic stress, although it's poorly perceived and very, very difficult to measure, it's almost an intangible.
Right.
Assume that type of stress is of equal severity to any stress that you can, especially if you had a major life event. We're not going to go through these things, obviously.
Right.
But those are the equivalent, or in fact more so, debilitating on the body, although not perceived as such, than are very intense exercise programs, poor nutrition, lack of sleep, et cetera, et cetera. Assume that all of these things are equal, even though, again, the stress you can't necessarily measure, the psychological stresses you can't necessarily measure. Assume that they're all equal. It's just like having surgery, okay, which is just an elective stress to the body, a physical stress. So my thought would be, assume that you are going to be more predisposed to overtraining by virtue of what's going on in your life from a personal standpoint, et cetera, difficulties at work, whatever it is, financial stresses, okay, and back off accordingly. You'll feel it if you get overtrained, okay. Don't try to compensate for that, okay, by saying, oh, wow, I feel sluggish. Maybe I need to train a little bit more. I'm making poor gains in the gym. Maybe I need to train a little bit more. Instead, do the opposite. You know, start thinking outside the box. And if you expose yourself or you're exposed to undue amounts of stress in the workplace, financially, at home, et cetera, back the training off a little bit. Maybe even consider taking a week or two off and see how you feel. Let your body recover, make sure you're getting adequate sleep and eat well. Do not overstress the body. If you get to that point where you are overtrained and really have a true overtraining syndrome, it will set you back months. So
what about
do it. Okay, error on the side of rest. Okay, when in doubt. Okay, Arthur Jones used to say, the founder of Nautilus used to say, when in doubt, move slower. Okay, which is not a bad thing to say. Okay, right. With me, it's when in doubt. Okay, error on the side of doing less, or as we say in surgery, less is more.
Right.
Okay.
So I have a question too, because you know, I know that I've had a lot of stressful issues in my life, and then dealing with training and all this. I noticed for
you
me.
mean your ex-husband? Stress?
Yeah.
You being in court yesterday for 8 hours downtown Los Angeles? No stress. No stress.
No stress at all. What I found what works for me is if I can do like some kind, and I'm not saying a strenuous hike, but something where I get out in nature and I take a walk, or I go somewhere that has beautiful views and do something like where, you know, even meditation, something to that degree where I can handle the stressful levels that I've created in my mind, because, you know, a lot of it is dependent on how much somebody can handle at any given point in time. I mean, somebody can handle tons of things at one time, and somebody, you know, a little thing happens and they get off balance. But I think something like that, where if somebody can go outside or do something that's going to chill them out a little bit, that those will definitely help as well, because we all have different stress tolerant levels.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Monica. I mean, you basically have to figure out ways that you as an individual need to cope or can cope with stress. And I do have sort of a one of these asides in the book which just talks about stress management. In other words, it's something that's very, very, very personal and individualized. If you happen to be somebody who participates in yoga and meditation, et cetera, I think it's all great. I'm not somebody who has taken the time, unfortunately, to learn how to meditate, but I think it's probably something that we should all know how to do.
You and me both, dude.
Right. Well, I'm just saying, because, you know, people, you can honestly, literally, you know, when just recently when I had a bunch of things going on, I mean, I literally have felt the most depressed and stressed than I have felt in years. And I know that when you get yourself sucked into that depression, it's really hard to see a way out. It really is. And I get the whole, yeah, you know, you got to slow down and all this, but you've also got to look at a solution to get you out of that, because if you don't, then, you know, weeks can turn into months, and then you're still feeling the same way, and then you're still blaming all these other things. Well, I can't train because I'm depressed. So I think you always have to look at your life and say, okay, well, where am I at? It's like they say, you know, my dad used to say, do a checkup from the neck up, and see where you stand.
Agreed.
I like it.
Okay. Okay, so jumping in. So this comes from a guy out of the blue, out of left field. I'm 59 years old. I've never been on testosterone replacement therapy. I've never used anabolic steroids. I'm having both of my knees replaced. I'm ex-military. Do you recommend that I start TRT and potentially anything else to speed the healing process after surgery?
Yeah, that's a great question, and ultimately there will be this data, I'm sure, will be borne out in studies. We're doing a little bit of work at the hospital right now. We're trying to get a grant approval for a study which sort of touches upon a related issue. I think that it's, well, I don't think, I know that it's very much, you know, TRT is very much undervalued, underappreciated in the context of preparing and healing from an insult, from surgery, from this elective trauma we call surgery.
Right.
And I think that, you know, if that individual meets serologic criteria, and given his age, he likely will, and if he has the typical symptoms of hypogonadism, which again at age 59 he likely does.
Right.
Yeah, he likely does. I think it's a great idea, and undoubtedly, undoubtedly would enhance his recovery. You got to remember when they do when these orthopedic surgeons do these knee replacements, especially bilateral knee replacements, if he's having them done concomitantly, it's a very, very, very big stress on the body.
Right.
Testosterone is it allows you to better respond to the stresses and the rigors of training or any type of trauma to the muscle, which will occur when his knees are being replaced. So I think that the answer to that is an emphatic yes. If he meets serologic criteria, and likely just by virtue of his age, he will.
Right. I don't know too many 59-year-old guys who aren't hypogonadal. Okay, so a couple more questions real quick. And what are your thoughts on buying powdered bulk supplements? I've recently experimented with purchasing bulk supplements from Amazon because of the economic value. Are there any companies that you would recommend or any specific bulk powder formulations that you like?
No, and that's a good question, and a lot of people have done that. I've done that before in the past. I don't think that it's unreasonable at all, provided you're buying from a reputable company, and they do have some manufacturing and production standards and some guidelines, and you can actually do a sort of an assessment of these companies. There are tighter and tighter regulations coming down the pike, I can tell you. So I would make sure that you're certainly you've researched the company and they've met their appropriate criteria, and you're not buying from somebody who's formulating their protein in their garage, which, as you know, does go on. And there's issues with protein spiking, et cetera, et cetera. There's all sorts of issues. So just do your due diligence and make sure that you're dealing with something that's somebody that is or a manufacturer that's reputable. I've always been an advocate of literally, and Jay and I have had discussions about this. I mean, I will go and buy protein powder at Costco or Walmart, and you know what? It served me just fine. I can't tell you that there's any appreciable difference between very, very generic protein powder bought from Walmart or Costco and that bought from GNC. I'm not talking about the stuff that's laden with stimulants and is pre-workout type stuff and all these other chemicals added in for that type of effect, for better or for worse. I'm not so sure that there's much difference between any of these things, quite frankly, provided you're buying for somebody that's reputable.
I want to do. I want to start at the end. Going forward, I want to start like maybe we'll do like a quack watch, like little portion at the end of everything, and we'll take like the craziest questions that you and I get from people that have been dealing with guys prescribing TRT that are so absurd. I have one now, and I want you to answer this. And obviously, this is in the book. This is actually a question that's actually addressed in the book, but. This guy writes into me. He actually came in from the blog, and I pasted it into my text message. He's 33 years old, and he is trying to get pregnant with his wife. He's working with a doctor. They told him no TRT, which is obviously right. We know that. But they told him they want him to use a Arimidex only. And I wanted you to answer the question and say why that is high risk and why HCG is a much better strategy.
I really wouldn't do that. I think that's I don't think that's the best advice. I mean, we do use things like we do use things. If you're better word. Yeah, if you're gonna go that route and try to try that method. I would stay off of the AIs, the aromatase inhibitors, like an anastrozole. I don't think that's a wise choice. What they're trying to do is they're trying to stop the shunting of testosterone. Jan, I'm not talking to you here, or Monica. You guys know this. They're trying to stop the shunting of testosterone into estrogen and trying to sort of better optimize the gentleman's ratio of testosterone to estradiol. So by virtue of blocking that aromatase enzyme, they're hoping for an elevation in testosterone, in his virility, in his virility, et cetera, with a concomitant reduction in his estradiol. A better move, would be to, and again, and Jay, you've pointed this out in your book astutely. There are plenty of people. I just want to say one thing. There are plenty of people who will prescribe testosterone, and we see tons of them, even in individuals that are of childbearing age and wanting to have children, under the notion that when the the couple starts trying to have kids, that the testosterone will be weaned and there'll be some sort of rescue therapy with HCG, Clomid, et cetera, et cetera. And you know what? That's been done zillions of times. I don't do that in my clinic. I'm not a fan. Okay, it's not something that is recommended. Could it be done safely? In all likelihood, yes. Okay, but there is a small chance, okay, of causing sterility in individuals. It's very, very low. Okay, but there still is a chance that you can cause sterility. Which is why if somebody for whatever reason has to be on testosterone for some reason, okay, has to be on testosterone and is of childbearing age, you want to put them on HCG, beta HCG concomitantly, so that you're going to bolster, augment, increase their sperm count, and to some degree obviate or buffer the sperm lowering effects of testosterone. So let me reiterate that. If you're on testosterone now, you're of childbearing age, and you're getting it on the street, number one, I wouldn't recommend doing that. But if you happen to be on it, okay, and you, for whatever reason, this is your chosen method, you must certainly, if you're planning on having kids, okay, be on beta HCG as well. Now, going back to the original question, a better move, okay, for this individual would be to put the gentleman on beta HCG, okay, in isolation, or you can use beta HCG, which is going to increase the sperm count, increase the testosterone levels, okay, and consider using a very, very low dose of anastrozole or zinc or chrysin, and maybe even if you wanted to push the testosterone up a little bit more, you can use some DHEA, sort of, okay, of that. So there are various methods, okay, but beta HCG is something that should be used, okay, just from the standpoint of increasing the individual sperm count and concomitantly increasing their testosterone. So you sort of kill two birds with one stone. It's not going to serve the same testosterone increasing effects as injectable testosterone using the exogenous stuff, and Jay, you talk about this a lot in the book as well, and that's true. In my experience, and I've had a lot, you can push people's total testosterone up to 700, 800, something like that. You're not going to be pushing them up to sort of that, what we believe is that optimal level, which is maybe the 1100s or high 1100s, etc. But that would be the better move for this individual.
Totally, and the one thing that you left out amidst all that amazing commentary, which I 100% agree with, is, and you didn't leave it out, but it should be stated that Arimidex or anastrozole, putting them on that by itself, there's also a risk that they're going to lower their estrogen too far. And we both know that doing that can also screw with their libido and create all kinds of other issues with training with joints and all that stuff. So that's just, I can't see
cardioprotective effects of it. There's no question about it. Because estradiol, okay, it's somewhere around a level of 20, we believe, okay, has sort of the optimal cardioprotective effects, okay, which are gone, okay, if you bottom out your estradiol level. So it's, we think, oh, I used to think bring the testosterone levels up and just bring the estradiol levels down. No, it's not that simple. Everybody has a window. It's very, very individualized, okay, where they're going to function optimally, particularly sexually, okay, because I've had individuals too much anastrozole and their estradiol levels go down to 10, and they're just no good. Okay.
You're absolutely right. I mean, it's like you said, and I echo in the book. It's all about balance. It's a narrow therapeutic balance range, and you need a good doctor. You need somebody, and I'm not a doctor, but obviously I just play one on the show. But you need somebody to understand that balance. I mean, you're right. I mean, it's so true, Doc. I mean, so many guys, they think, oh, well, my test is optimal, but my estradiol is 5 or 6 or whatever, and I have no sex drive. Well, there you go. So it's like when I see docs that are like giving guys anastrozole, especially guys of fertility-bearing age, that's a huge risk, especially if they're trying to have sex with their wives to get pregnant. If they have no libido, then, I mean, they're even more screwed, right?
Not a good idea.
Right. Not a good idea. Okay, cool. Well, listen, today's been an awesome show. I don't want to keep Scott. Scott, do you have anything you wanted to add?
No, it's great information as usual. You guys are awesome.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Dr. O.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Doc. Thanks for joining up. I'll call you. We'll talk in a little while. Just for everybody, we'll have the transcript hopefully up by the weekend.
Yep.
Awesome, guys.
Okay, thanks, Doc.
Bye.